Hi everyone, I'm Nicole. I'm an addict. There is a wasp in here. If it comes near me, I'm going out there because I don't do well with that. Yeah, it never feels nice sitting up here. I don't know if that will ever change, but it's not an enjoyable part of being in recovery at all. But nevertheless, here we are, and much as I like to hear other people's stories, I'm sure you all feel the same. I just got back from holiday. I went on a holiday with my 16-year-old son. He's just finished his GCSEs. So we went away to Gran Canaria, and we went on an all-inclusive holiday. I've never done an all-inclusive holiday before in my life, and it's a weird vibe. And I probably must have drunk about, 100 virgin mojitos, which the barman found incredibly strange that I only drank virgin mojitos, and it was as if I'm just weird. It's like people can't get to grips with the fact that we're not in an all-inclusive hotel just getting absolutely lagging. And I was there with my 16-year-old son, and I'm getting him drinks. So I got him a couple of vodka and cokes, and I'm bringing them back to the room, and he just drinks one of them. And then I'm looking at the assortment of like liqueurs, and there was like a banana liqueur, and I was like, I feel like I'd like that. I'm not sure. I'll give it a whirl with him. So I'm taking back these liqueurs and whiskey creams and goodness knows what, but he just wasn't drinking them. Like, what's wrong with you, child, for goodness sake? And he might just have a couple of, he had a beer or something, and just didn't want to drink it. And he tried a couple of drinks and he didn't like the taste, so he stopped. Whereas the first time I got drunk, I think I was about 14, and I had an empty bottle, a squash bottle, and I filled it up to about here with vodka, up to about here with Pernod, from my mum and dad's drinks cabinet, that every respectable parent had a decent drinks cabinet. And then the last bit of it, I just filled with undiluted orange squash to help with the taste of it, which didn't help at all, not one bit. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever drunk in my life, and yet I downed the lot of it and spent the whole night rolling around in my own sick. And that was from the off. And I have no idea why that would have been so appealing. It feels, the idea of that now is repulsive, to be honest with you, but at the time, that was it. I didn't have a drink to taste it. I didn't want to see, I didn't want to be sophisticated, having a glass of wine or anything like that. Immediately, I wanted to get shit-faced, and I'm not sure why. And really, that has then been me ever since. No matter what I did, no matter what substance it was, whether I liked the substance or not, I wanted to get shit-faced. I'd say I think there was a couple of meetings ago and people were talking about smoking weed or smoking puff. And I had a weird relationship with puff. It was either, if I was with my brother, who I was utterly comfortable with, I loved my brother, and we would go out together and we would get stoned. It would be the best night of my life. We would be in hysterics. We would just be loving life. We'd go back home trying to style out the munchies in front of my parents. Just stood at the fridge with the doors open, just not able to make a decision but finding everything hilarious. Or I'd be with other people and I couldn't handle doing buckets and I couldn't handle doing bongs and all of that sort of stuff, but obviously I still did it, and then I'd just be utterly paranoid. And it was an either-or situation, and at which point, in what would also happen in the midst of my paranoia, is I'd think that my tongue had swollen, and then I'd be afraid that I was going to choke on my tongue for the rest of the night. So clearly, wanting to get shit-faced is a thread throughout my life, and being a bit dramatic is a thread throughout my life as well. So, but yes, and I couldn't handle acid. For the life of me, I couldn't handle acid at all. So I tried on numerous, obviously, I persisted and I tried and I made attempts, but yeah, I just couldn't handle it. Interestingly though, there was, I went to a school, although it was a grammar school and I was a day student, we had boarders, we had people who board at our school, and someone died. So somebody died from sniffing aerosols, and I suppose that would be my equivalent of Zammo, because I don't know whether I was just not interested in Grange Hill, or maybe some of you here are just a bit older than me or what, I don't know, but I knew about Zammo, but it wasn't, I don't remember it with as much depth as some of you. But what I do remember is this lad died at our school from sniffing aerosols, and I've never done it. I have never, that was a warning that I did listen to. I had no appeal to it, I didn't want to do it, I felt however I felt about it, and I've never done that, and I've never sniffed glue or anything like that. But then when it came to heroin, oh, it was fair game. I was ready for it. And the first time I took it, I guess I felt anxious. I felt, I wasn't oblivious to the fact that I was just about to take heroin. It wasn't, obviously I knew that wasn't the best thing. And I was in a car park in East Grinstead. I don't know why. I think we'd been to buy drugs because my partner was a drug dealer. So we were in whatever shenanigans we were in, and we'd been to East Grinstead and got this heroin and sat in a car park and smoked this heroin, and I puked my guts up for goodness knows how long, and it was the most joyous puke session I've ever had in my life. Even being sick felt lovely and warm and happy and protected and lovely, and I consistently sought out that feeling continuously. And I guess I was fortunate because I was dating a drug dealer, so drugs were in good supply, and I had a lucky introduction to some of those substances because I was surrounded by it and in large amounts. What wasn't so great about dating a drug dealer is the things, I guess, the world that I found myself in, this underground criminal world, that all of a sudden here I am. And I had a really good upbringing. I had a supportive family. I didn't want for anything. I had all of my needs met, and some. And I did well at school, and I was really sporty, and all of those things. And I had a sheltered upbringing. And then here I am in this underground criminal world of quite high volumes of drugs and everything that went with that. And you'd have thought that would have been off-putting, and yet I found it amazing. Whatever it was, whatever buzz was out there to be chased, I was chasing it. Whether it was substances, whether it was feelings, whatever it was, I was there. I was fair game, and I was up for it. What wasn't so great was the near life-threatening domestic abuse that occurred during that time. The frequency of that, for how long I endured that, and for how much that took from me as a person. But I guess on the plus side, that did then, or not on the plus side, it did result in him going to prison, which was a weird time for me, because being thrown into the criminal world, you obviously never talk to the police, you never have anything to do with them, you never engage with anything like that. When I did get arrested, I would kick off in the police cells. I would, I won't share the things that I was shouting, but it wasn't appropriate, and I wouldn't say any of that stuff now. So it was a weird time for me, because all of a sudden this person who I was with, who was incredibly violent and absolutely, damaged me in many, many ways, was now going to prison. But then I was in this strange world of, well, that shouldn't be a good thing. And yet it was probably one of the changing points of my life. And after that time, when he did go to prison, and I tried to carry on dealing, I've shared this many times before, I inherited the family business of drug dealing, and I was shit at it, because all I wanted to do was take the drugs, and people would knock at the door coming to purchase their drugs, and I would hide because I fucking want them. So quickly, obviously, that runs out, and what came with desperation of not having anything, no money, no one to control me, no one to control my consumption, that brought about some desperation, and I revealed all to my parents about how bad things had got, and thus begun my journey with detoxes, multiple detoxes, most of them at home. And this is the times where, when I started going through the steps, where I started to realise what it meant to be powerless, to not have any control, and to be caught up in the obsession. And interesting, when I first went through the steps and we're told about the obsession, I thought that meant that I was obsessed about drugs, because I was. Everything about my life was all about drugs. I was obsessed, from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep, it was about how to get drugs, wanting to get drugs, getting more drugs, getting them into my hands, getting them into my body. I was obsessed. But when we talk about the obsession in the sense of our 12 steps, the obsession that we talk about is that one day we're going to beat the game, and that one day we'll be able to have just one. One day we'll be able to have just a glass of wine. One day we'll be able to have just one hit. It doesn't even make sense, does it? But one day we'll beat the game. And my experiences after every single detox that I had was, that's how I relapsed, with that idea that I'll just do it once, just once. I won't tell anyone, no one will have to know, but just once, I'm just going to do it, it will be fine. And every single time, that's what took me back, at every single relapse. And I know there's some people who talk about, later on, they were knowingly, they were fully aware of the consequences, fully aware that they are just going to start this cycle in motion again. I didn't. I was utterly fooled by that part of my disease time and time and time and time again, because I honestly believed that I could do it just once and I'd be all right. So all of that led me to ending up in rehab. I was 21, so all of this stuff had taken place. My life had changed. It was, unrecognisable to the child that I was growing up. I felt broken and lost. And I ended up in a rehab centre, and I was introduced to the 12 steps. It was a rehab centre in Bognor. And I was introduced to the rooms of, at the time I went to meetings, it was NA and AA were the ones that were available. And I was shitting myself to walk through those doors to these rooms all these people in this room, all sat in a circle like this, I felt petrified. I can remember sitting in the meeting, busting for the loo, and I couldn't even get up to go to the loo because I was so afraid of like what someone might think, or it was just horrendous. But throughout that time in treatment, so I did 3 months in the treatment centre in Bognor, and then I did 5 months here in Bournemouth in secondary, and I didn't have a clue what was wrong with me. You know, in treatment, I was taught to look at consequences. I was taught to look at my childhood. I was taught to review, you know, all these consequences that had taken place. Well, I could look at the consequences. I could see everything that was going on, but it didn't answer the question as to why I was doing it in the first place. And all that resulted in was probably me lying my way through treatment because I felt that I needed to create reasons as to why I was a drug addict. And there wasn't any. So from the off, I was just utterly dishonest in treatment. I didn't know, I didn't understand what was going on with me. All of a sudden, I'm without substances. I'm just raw and, sorry, husband. My husband's in the room, but I basically had many relationships through treatment to get me through the dark nights. Sorry, babe. And we did meet in rehab, by the way. So you know, yay.
He's one.
So I just had no clue what I was doing. I was just thrown into this circumstance. I was freed from substances, but still never getting an answer to what was wrong with me. I still didn't have a solution. And although I was going to meetings, I didn't know what I was doing there. Meetings at the time were very different. This was in 2000. And I don't know whether I heard a message there or not. Who knows? I can't remember that I did. But ultimately I relapsed. And for the next 5 years was in and out of the rooms, and it was the most painful place to be. I feel, Colin, you could probably relate to the joys of being in and out of the rooms. Sorry there, bud. For what that feels like, the misery of just getting, you know, a couple of days here, a couple of weeks, maybe a month, 30 days in and out, just getting more and more angry, more and more resentful. I can't understand why I can't get it. You lot are clearly full of shit. You can't have used like me. Being more and more separated, more and more distant, more and more lacking in understanding, whilst my addiction got progressively worse and worse and worse and worse. And, you know, God, loads of stuff went on, which I won't go into, but it was horrible. I just gave Dougie a rundown of my Subutex overdose over there in the corner, but he can fill you in about that for another time. I died on my parents' floor. My father had to break down the door and revive me because I had gone blue. I wasn't breathing, so he found me. When I got into recovery, I had to go to the doctor, and turns out I've had masses of heart attacks from. I was a particular fan of a snowball, and had masses and masses of heart attacks, which was discovered 5 years into my recovery. That was discovered, and the doctors called me in and said, "By any chance have you used cocaine?" I thought, oh, what makes you say that? Well, you've had masses of heart attacks. So things obviously got really bad. I got back into recovery when I was 26. Things had been terrible. I fought and fought and fought and fought to get into a treatment centre. And yet again, in that treatment centre, I thought I'd just have one final use up. You know, it'll be fine, just one more. No one will ever know. Again, that same old story. But the difference being is I had a sponsor in place. So I got kicked out of treatment. I had a sponsor in place. And instead of doing my usual, ringing my family to help me, what I did is I rang this sponsor. She said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm about 20 minutes away." And she went, "You got 15 minutes, get your ass round here now." And that's what I did. And I went round there and she whipped me through the steps. And I did meetings every day without fail. I did everything that she told me to do without fail. I went through the steps in about 40 days. And before I was out of newcomers time, I was sponsoring other women. And I've never stopped sponsoring. I've never stopped being sponsored. Whether I use that sponsor is debatable at times, but I've always had at least a label of a sponsor, at the very minimum. I've always consistently done service. I really, the gratitude that I have for CA is just never ending. It is, I have a never ending pot of gratitude for CA, and I like to show that gratitude through actions and not just words. And I make sure I do service wherever I can to my fellowship that I love. The people that I have in my life are outstanding. From the absolute, being in recovery is amazing, but sometimes being in recovery is really fucking hard. Actually, no, being in recovery is not hard. Being in recovery is easy. I take that back. Being in recovery is easy. Life is hard at times. And the people around me, and I've got some of those in the room today, and it makes me want to cry, so I'm going to look this way so no one can look at me. It's... they've carried me through. Fuck off! We don't like you anyway. They've carried me through some of the worst times of my life, and so I'm forever grateful to them as well. What we have here is flipping amazing. It's life-changing, and through all the ups and downs that we have, the consistency that we have is right here with all of you. And the consistency is in the programme that we can work together to help us through the things that show up in life. I'm a very happy customer. I realise I've shared for probably not too bad, 22 minutes. I am very, very blessed to be here. I feel unrecognisable to the person that I was. I feel shocked at times that I'm just a dirty junkie. It just surprises me. But here I am, 20 years, clean and sober, and having just celebrated my sobriety birthday with my bestest people in my life. And it's freely here for all of you. And I shall leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you.